Hello, and thank you for listening to AI SuccessFactors podcast. We help enterprise adopt artificial intelligence. This is Samuel Matthew, your host. In simple terms, AI adoption is a three-step process: identifying the right AI opportunity, tying it back to a business value, and align it to a business goal. If you're a leader, needs help demonstrating ROI on your existing AI initiatives, or want to get a buy-in for a new AI initiative, you are in the right place. Our mission is to empower enterprise leaders to navigate, transform, and lead by applying AI into their business. In this show, we interview analytical and business leaders who successfully implemented AI into their business. In the conversations we feature, you will learn how these companies reach strategic business goals. It's a pleasure and privilege for our listeners to develop a point of view from the insights shared in this podcast. Today's episode is all about transformation, especially how AI and advanced analytics are revolutionizing the automotive and mobility industry. From autonomous vehicles to personalized customer experiences, AI isn't just shaping the future, it's redefining how we think about mobility itself. To help us explore this fascinating topic, we're joined by Ram Chandra, Director of Data Science at Toyota. Last year, Toyota sold a record 11.2 million vehicles globally, cementing its position as the world's largest automaker. Ram is a recognized leader in AI, data science, and digital transformation within the automotive industry. At Toyota, he has been instrumental in driving AI and data-driven strategies that have delivered significant ROI and cost savings. His expertise are cloud infrastructure, advanced analytics, and enterprise AI adoption, making him a key figure in shaping the future of mobility. Here is our conversation. Hey, Ram, welcome to AI SuccessFactors podcast.
Yeah, very happy to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Sure, Ram. The automotive and mobility sector is in the midst of a seismic shift. AI is enabling smarter, safer, and more efficient systems, whether it's autonomous driving, predictive maintenance, or real-time supply chain optimization. Understanding these advancements isn't just exciting, it is essential for anyone looking to stay ahead in the rapidly evolving landscape. To the benefit of the listeners, can you tell why should leaders in the automotive and mobility sector prioritize data and AI in their strategic agenda today?
Yeah, there is a big why. And there's a lot of reasons why they should be thinking about AI and data. And I'll talk about a few of the areas, but obviously for different companies, it could be way more. I believe the first one is on the lines of the consumer goods industry, which is the evolving consumer expectation. Customers now expect seamless, personalized experience across your, let's say, dealership or the web presence that you might have, and they expect you to know. So it requires your data-driven insights for targeted engagement. It is also essential nowadays to differentiate yourself from your competitors. The other piece is the electrification and the sustainability effort that are happening across OEMs. And data and AI can play a huge role into it, and we already see that happening. And amidst all this, we cannot forget about the operations part, which is to make sure that your operations are resilient enough, you're smarter, you're making that data-driven decisions. So whether it is related to forecasting, understanding the demand, all of that is important and can be enabled through AI. And last but not the least, I would also like to mention about the profitability and the growth. There is one thing to expect what might happen in the industry, and this is entirely another thing to make that powered through data and AI. And I see a lot of those adoption across many use cases. So these are some of the areas.
As you mentioned, the trends like electrification, connected vehicles, autonomous driving, are these influencing the strategic focus on AI and analytics, or is it accelerating?
I would say that these form the business strategy. And usually your data strategy should follow the business strategy, right?
Correct.
When data in itself shouldn't have a strategy of its own, your data strategy should be following the business strategy. So as the business evolves on the lines of electrification, autonomous driving, data plays a huge role. And more than ever, than your traditional business.
Exactly. A lot of our engagements when we approach a client talking about AI adoption, it is not about AI strategy. A lot of times we look into what their ID strategy, what their cloud strategy is. So all these play in together when we actually implement AI into the organizations. With that said, the big why you addressed, now let's dive deeper into the strategic priorities driving innovation in the automotive industry. What are the current key strategy priorities for leaders in the automotive industry regarding data and AI?
Yeah, I believe it depends on the transformation that different OEMs are undertaking, but there are some key themes that I see happening, and I'll probably talk about 4 or 5. I believe that the customer-centric transformation, and that is based on the trend on the customer expectation. So building more integrated and omni-channel customer experience. So somebody browsing on .com, going to a dealership, they need to have a bit more seamless interaction that they currently a lot of OEMs might have a very fragmented experience for the customers. Again, electrification, where you need to put in the charging infrastructure, right? What kind of innovation can happen on the battery and stuff like that. And then again, on the operational efficiencies, where putting things in production, making data-driven decision integrated in your system so that they're not just waiting for insights, but they are actually deciding or making the decisions based on the insights, right? Then there is a whole trend around the digital retail. You already see a lot of companies trying to sell stuff online. Only a handful of them are doing that, but I think it's a big part of how it will evolve in the next 4 or 5 years, I believe.
Yeah, I have seen this digital business model in the automotive industry started the COVID.
Yep, Amazon sells that too.
Right, exactly.
They experimented. Tesla does that, and obviously there are some other companies who have experimented as well.
Correct. And we have seen a lot of partnership recently between tech and automotive companies driving AI adoption. Take NVIDIA and Mercedes-Benz, for example. They have worked together to develop an AI system for level 4 autonomous driving. It's also enhancing driving experience with AI-powered personal assistants. Now, the BMW also teamed up with IBM Watson. They're exploring how AI can be used in their vehicles, like creating intelligent personal assistants for drivers. These kind of collaborations really seem to be the heart of innovation in these automotive spaces. So my question to you is, are these partnerships becoming strategic priorities for automotive companies in the AI era?
Yeah, I like to think a bit differently. Most of the auto companies, they have a core competencies in manufacturing or a certain part of supply chain and all. And when it comes to tech, everyone is trying to catch up with the tech companies. So one easy way to get the benefit is to strike these partnerships. And every OEMs is doing that right now. And it is important because the kind of research or investment that is needed to yield an outcome or a value is long term, and that cannot be just taken up. But every OEMs have their research arms that they are trying to strike partnership and try to take advantage, right? So they're making a lot of commitment and investment, but the partnerships are really important.
So how critical are those partnerships in the near future?
Very critical. Very critical. I believe if you want to have a competitive edge, you need to understand what are things that you can take advantage from these partnerships and what are things that you can develop as a core competency on your end. So partnership doesn't mean necessarily that buying these technologies or leveraging, right? It's more about what is commercial grade infrastructure, for example, that we can leverage, but the intelligence that we can keep in-house, right? So the foundation for a lot of partnership I see.
And what moves the needle is the real-world applications. One area where AI is making huge impact in automotive industry is improving customer experiences. Personalization is the key driver in modern customer experience. As you mentioned, that is where the industry is driving. Earlier times when you drive a car, but now people are looking for a customized experience. And recommendation systems is another one in the car currently available. Even Gen AI applications are driving tangible results. Let's discuss some specific examples, what's working in this space. What are some measurable ways AI recommendation systems have improved customer engagement in sales in automotive?
I think it goes back to understanding that most of the OEMs had focused on the product. So they built an amazing product, and the focus was how to make the best product out there. And that has shifted a lot because right now the quality of the vehicles is at par across many OEMs. So the differentiation today comes from the experience that you can give to the customers. And the expectations of different generation of people are very different. So I believe that a lot of focus right now is on the targeted engagement. Your high value customers engage with the brand. And when I say engage, it could mean visiting the dealership, doing certain activity on the .com, buying parts directly from the manufacturer. Similarly, in order to do all that, we do a lot of personalized recommendation on what a customer might need at different point of time. And these were done mostly using point predictions a while back. But right now, the focus is how we can personalize these recommendations a bit more. Similarly, with the Gen AI, you see a lot of conversational AI being implemented in call center of .com, or if you visit the .com, there's a lot of real-time customization that is being offered with a lot of Gen AI in collaboration with your existing traditional machine learning use cases as well. So an example that could be that you identify the customers who could be in market, but then you can personalize the targeting based on the psychographic elements of the customer, right? So that's a hybrid approach where your traditional machine learning and a Gen AI is combining to build a system that's basically helping improve the conversion, helping improve the experience of the customers. And it's no longer about, hey, can you buy this vehicle? It's also about why you should buy this vehicle, how the brands can resonate a lot more with the individual customer.
Yeah, before we jump into Gen AI applications, I just wanted to deep dive into the personalization part of it. A lot of personalization being done based on the customer segmentation. Then we understand the nuances of each customer categories, right? So what factors ensure success when we do the customer segmentation from your experience?
Yeah, I think there are two. One is a little bit an aggregate level where you have your different customer segment and you target different things based on the segment. Again, on the aggregation side itself, you can have a product-based recommendation. If you like a product A, you also might consider product B because they're a bit similar, maybe 60% overlap. So that's at a very aggregate level without knowing the behavior of an individual customer. But the second part is a bit more granular, and that's where the power of computing, cloud computing, or machine learning is more powerful, where we understand what the customer has done historically, how they have engaged with the brand, what kind of services they've done, what kind of car they've owned, how they've driven it, what kind of browsing they're doing on the .com, what are the different demographics and the psychography of a customer. And then using all that, can we make a recommendation on what might be a better part for them to consider, what kind of accessories might be useful, what kind of trim level might be useful. A single vehicle comes in different trim level, and those all cater to different kind of needs. So the idea is, how do you map the needs that is being delivered through different trim level to different kind of customers who might have a different need. So it's a lot of matrix, and the idea is how you can make these predictions or spot a rule or identify a pattern and then see if that works in the market. You can never be certain, so you have to do these experiments quite a bit. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, sure. Are we using this for sales enablement in the dealership currently?
Some dealers, we do have a program where there are certain dealers who have opted in. Then obviously those things are available for those dealers. Certain dealers haven't opted for it. Yeah.
It's a hybrid version now.
Yeah.
All right. I got it.
And we also want to make sure that we are protecting the data of the consumer at
Correct.
each stage of consumption of the data and enabling the data for any kind of use case, not just sales related, but any kind of use case.
Got it. So coming back to Gen AI being leveraged recently in a big way in the customer and marketing space, especially in the automotive industry. For example, chatbot is an example, virtual assistants in the dealerships I have seen frequently asked questions. Even in the manufacturing side, if you look in a rapid design of vehicle prototypes or technical documentation, it's used in big way in multiple spaces. There are endless applications, for example. Can you share some specific example of Gen AI applications that you found most effective?
I think it's still in the early stages of Gen AI adoption. I would believe there has been a lot of tech pilot and business pilot to experiment how things work. Some of the areas where it has worked really well is obviously the technical documentation. There is a lot of effort that goes into creating technical documentation. So Gen AI, if you train that on your own content, it can help you create the technical documentation of a newer vehicle based on the historical, because then you can utilize a lot of your structured data in terms of what has changed from a prior model and leverage some of the documentation that existed. So I think that's one area. But it results into the cost savings, right? This is related to cost savings. Similarly, you have a lot of chatbots that are powered by Gen AI. They can answer a lot more questions today than a chatbot answered just like a year back. So a big win there. But I believe the challenge for us is to make sure that there is less hallucination, because a customer would trust what is coming out of these chatbot on our .com. So a full-scale production deployment is going to be in many stages. It's hard to enable all kind of data into that chatbot, but I think there are a lot of trials happening right now. And obviously, the other big piece is the dealer operations. There's a lot of training that can be done much faster using Gen AI. There is some work happening in that area as well.
Okay, great. Supply chain is another area to quote as an example of how AI will solve immediate challenges. But implementing these solutions require strong leadership. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the broader picture. What trends should industry leaders keep an eye on, and how can they ensure AI drives long-term success? With that said, how are AI and data analytics used to address disruptions, improve demand forecasting, and manage risk in real time? Because automotive industry is where there's a lot of supply chain and work involved. From my understanding, more than about 3,000 suppliers or spare parts being used in each vehicle. That is a lot. So I just wanted to understand how AI is helping you real time.
Yeah, I think supply chain is huge. We think about supply chain, we typically think of getting the parts from the suppliers into the manufacturing plant. And that has existed for a long time. I think most of the parts of the supply chain has existed for a long time. It has only become complex, I would say, because even on the supplier side, you have a lot more options right now. But I think a lot of the suppliers and getting the parts to the plant is not that big of a challenge. It's not a novel problem that AI is going to solve today. It has been solved through a lot of optimization-based algorithm before, and it continues to be more effective. I believe the areas that is being solved and can be solved through AI is areas where you need to make a prediction on what could be a possible downtime, or what is the expected arrival of a, let's say, a finished vehicle at the distribution center from the manufacturing plant, or assessing what the demand might be in a certain area by a certain dealer. A dealer would always ask for all the vehicles that they can get on their hands on. But as a manufacturer, they need to decide what is the right mix of vehicle that they need to be giving to a dealer in a certain region. And it is just not based on the sales trend. There could be a lot happening. You could have a competitor doing really well in a certain area. You could have a good reputation of a dealer, of a competitor, or you could have a really bad reputation of a dealer in your area. So there is a lot of different factors that gets into it, and it becomes more of a multi-variable problem.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of factors that can determine the outcome. So you're looking for a problem statement that can be solved by predictive analytics. Similarly, so I touched upon a little bit on the demand forecasting. Similarly, you have incentives being offered by a lot of players in the market. So how can you do dynamic incentive? A lot of companies are known to do more incentives. Some companies are known to do less. That's also an area that has been done traditionally with the optimization based on market dynamics. But there are a lot of decisions to be made. You have, let's say, if you have 50 different vehicles, and if you have 5 trim level, and you have 2-3 different model year, then you're looking for 1,000 options that you need to optimize, right? And you might have a different market. You might want to have different kind of incentive structure. So it becomes an increasingly complex situation where you need these AI and machine learning solution that can augment your current SMEs who are in place or current business process that might be in place.
Yeah, when you say this in detail, that's where we understand the depth of it. A lot of exogenous factors play into us data points in this one. So obviously, I think it makes a good use case for AI. And so how about the data latency and inaccuracies in pipeline?
Yeah, that's a big part, right? You are dependent on your logistic partners. You are dependent on dealers. Usually, we try to make sure that we get the data by a month in a batch. And some of the data sets are critical to know on a daily basis, like things in movement. But for demand forecasting is good enough to do on a monthly period. Things in motion, we need to be aware on an hourly basis. Shipment moving from a manufacturing plant to a distribution center, but sooner the better, right? But most of the stuff in the supply chain can be managed on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, at least for an automotive companies. For different industry, it varies.
As we have seen throughout our discussion, data and AI are shaping the automotive industry in profound ways. Before we wrap up, I would like to hear your thoughts on what future holds. What one key trend in AI and analytics should industry leaders watch closely in the coming years?
Going to be a lot of autonomous vehicle. So how do we integrate AI for a safer and more efficient mobility? That is one thing that we as a leader need to be aware of. Then I believe this hyper-personalized experiences that customer demands today can be enabled through AI. At what degree you want to do it, what level you want to do, that's a decision C-suite need to take. I believe the mobility is moving beyond just the vehicles. So there's a lot of discussion on the smart cities. There are a lot of initiative right now around those lines. Then how can you augment your business flow with the AI so that it's a helping hand for the individuals who are working in a certain business process? And how can you use AI to make the most of the resources that is available to you? When I say resources, it is not just the resources in terms of the materials, but also in terms of an individual capacity all across the value chain.
I ask this question to all the guests in this show. So what advice do you give to the enterprise leaders or CXOs aiming to scale AI and data-driven strategies effectively? So you can talk about in the context of automotive.
Yeah, I believe you have to start with clear goals. What your AI initiative you want them to achieve, right? I see a lot of, not just in OEMs, but like many other industry, they will have a data science team, but they would not know what they're going to be doing. They're not aligned from the beginning. So I think it'll be good to do that from the very beginning. I believe that investing in talent and culture and building a culture is really important. And sometimes I see people hire really good people, but then they don't know what to work on. The culture is toxic and it just doesn't work. I would also say it pays off a lot to leverage scalable platform. So if you have a data scientist who's built a model, think about how it can be deployed using MLOps workflows. And I would always recommend to prioritize ethics and privacy. There is a lot of laws around it. So make sure that you have these guardrails from the very beginning, because it should not be an afterthought. It should be part of the solution itself. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say.
Yep, great insights. What really stand out is how important it is for leaders to prioritize these innovations in their strategic plans. Looking ahead, it's clear that the success depends on leaders' ability to adapt quickly. At the same time, they need to maintain operational stability and think strategically about the future. Whether it's through the personalized customer experience or smarter supply chains, the opportunities are huge for those who are ready to embrace them.
Yep.
To our listeners, we encourage you to think about how these advancements connect to your own work and industries. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep moving forward. Thank you for joining us today, and special thanks to our guest, Ram, for sharing such incredible insights. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you a lot. It was wonderful talking to you.
If you like today's podcast, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback is important. We always look for comments and recommendations to improve. This show is available on Apple Podcast, Google, and SoundCloud. Please do subscribe. Plus, you can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube. You can find the links to these pages in the show notes or by visiting us at AISuccessFactors.com. We publish episodes bi-weekly on Wednesdays. Please be sure to tune in for the next episode. Thank you and see you next time.